This is the 16-inch 2022 Lenovo Ideapad Flex 5i. All right, it's a big title. So the purpose behind this device is to give consumers, not business consumers, but home consumers, something they can use as an all-in-one device. So it can be used as a traditional laptop, so you get the full keyboard experience with an upright display. It can be used in a collaborative mode where you can actually take the screen and lay it down flat if you can get over this tight hinge. And you can use it in a presentation mode where you use it in a tent position, and perhaps you're sitting to one side of the display and then you're pointing to a presentation or a graphic, something that you've even drawn. And then finally, you can use it in a tablet mode. Now, it's kind of funny, as I'm explaining all this right now, I'm reminded of the fact that I've explained this so many times over the years. And I think these two-in-one devices have been around for at least 7-8 years now, and man, maybe 6-7 years. Anyhow, a long enough time, they're popular enough, and every manufacturer makes them but Apple, that you pretty much, everyone should know what these things are, but I feel like they always require explaining. And maybe that's because they're a device trying to solve too many problems at once. Now, that's not to say that this is a bad laptop. It's not by any means. It's very well spec'd, it's very well priced, which we'll get to in a moment. And it could use a little bit of assistance, but it's an Ideapad, not a Carbon, a ThinkPad, a ThinkBook, a Slim. It's not some of the premium trims that Lenovo has to offer. And it is one of the better two-in-ones that I've got my hands on, which is natural over time, 6-7 years of maturity, that will happen. But it's also not what you would think of first when it's time to get a new machine for home use or for school use. If you're just doing higher education, maybe high school education, you don't necessarily think of, I need a two-in-one device, something that can solve all these different problems at once, particularly at the 16-inch frame. So we'll get into all of that. But first, a couple of things. Number one, this is provided by Lenovo for the purpose of the review. It will go back to Lenovo when I'm all done with it. My testing that I do is like just regular person testing. I don't do benchmarks. I don't do synthetics, whatevers. I don't know. I use the darn thing, and then I tell you what I think about it and how I've used it. Number two, this is available at Office Depot for $950. At that price, you get a 12th Gen i5, 16 gigs of RAM, and a 1/2 terabyte SSD. There's plenty of I/O, which I'll show you in a moment, and it's super well built. Like, it is a meaty, hefty tank. I haven't weighed it. It probably weighs close to 4 pounds, and it's a 16-inch device. I'm sure there's a 14 or 13-inch version, which I think is probably the better way to go if you want a two-in-one like this. And that will weigh less, maybe 3¼ pounds or 3½ pounds. That's just kind of par for the course with these types of machines. Okay, so it's made out of aluminum or perhaps magnesium, and it feels really good. It's not sharp and yucky. It's just a nice, smooth design. It's very well crafted. The I/O is next level. So you have a power port. This always throws me off. Okay, so most Lenovo laptops use a Lenovo power port. You've probably seen them before. They're rectangular with a yellow tip, but for some reason on this machine they use a barrel cable. So I haven't seen that on a Lenovo machine in a very long time. Full-size HDMI out, Thunderbolt 4 with power delivery, and a headphone jack, and Lenovo's little proprietary reset button, troubleshooting button. On the right-hand side, we have a power button that's pretty nicely recessed. I don't think you're going to accidentally press this button. A SD card reader and 2 USB 8 ports. Nothing in terms of I/O on the back, but does look really cool. I think the ventilation looks really nice, and the hinges are pretty meaty. And then you also get these rubber feet, which is a nice added feature. So when you're opening this device and you're resting it on a table, it's going to absorb some of that impact, give you a nice, you don't have to worry about your machine getting scratched up, or perhaps your machine scratching up the surface you're working on. Now, here's the thing. As you open this, the hinge is very tight. So watch what happens. What I'm going to try to do is just open it with one hand, and the bottom lifts up with me. It's not the end of the world. You just got to be a little bit careful when you're opening your device. Now, as you open it, you get access to a full-size keyboard. If you're using this for its intended purpose, which is education, some home use, maybe you're going to do balance your checkbook, balance your bank accounts, do some taxes, you're going to need a number pad if you're going to be using a lot of numbers. So this is a nice addition, way to use the space, Lenovo. This is not a speaker grill at the top. The speakers are bottom firing. They don't sound amazing, but they're fine. For a sub $1,000 device, it's kind of what you get. There is backlighting here, but it's not RGB. It's just a nice white glow. Looks perfectly fine in dark settings. The trackpad is glass and it feels good, but it's off to the left below the space bar, which has some merit to it. Aesthetically, I'd like to see the trackpad in the middle. I think the size is fine. It's a decently sized trackpad. Didn't ruin my day or anything to use it. I just would like to see it centered more. I think it's just more aesthetically pleasing. While you do have a 1080p camera with a microphone array at the top, you do not have Windows Hello facial recognition. You have Windows Hello biometric recognition. So you put your finger here after a couple of swipes so it can take record of your fingerprint. Then you can log in with it and it works super well. This is not a super bright display. I'd clock it around 250 nits and it is super glossy. I do have some windows open behind me angled upward. They're shutters. So this, it's pretty darn reflective. Now it does get, as I mentioned, decently bright, kind of par for the course brightness. Come on, Windows. I don't want your widgets. Okay. So there is pen support, but it does not ship with a pen. So you have to buy that separately. And it uses Lenovo's active pens. So if you have something like one of these Lenovo pens that you would use on a tablet, like the very cool Tab P11, this won't work. You have to buy a separate active stylus from Lenovo, pair it, and off you go. So unfortunately, I was not able to test pen input, which is a shame because this is I think a good justification for buying a machine like this would be to put it in some type of tablet mode, one of the couple of different tablet related modes, and then do your drawing directly on it. So I can't test drawing, which is probably for everyone's benefit. I don't draw very well, so off you go. Performance is pretty darn good. It is the 12th gen i5, which has a lot of power to it, but the 12th gen Intel CPUs just in general have been hot and very power hungry, and that hasn't missed its mark on this machine. While Lenovo has done a pretty good job of, I think, extending battery life with the 12th gen CPUs from Intel compared to other manufacturers, unfortunately, this one doesn't quite meet the bill. So 6-7 hours of battery life is pretty normal if you're running on like a modest setting for brightness and you don't have your keyboard backlight on and you're running it in better battery mode and most of your work is maybe Chrome based. I think you're going to be getting around 6 to 7 hours of battery life. So don't expect anything better than that. Now above this sticker is the camera microphone array, and then there's also what this sticker will inform you is that there's a little shutter here. So you can pull that to the left and now your camera is blocked, or you can pull it to the right and now your camera is exposed. It doesn't turn off your microphone or turn off your camera, but it does at least put a piece of film over it. So if you're concerned about your privacy, I don't know, there's so many other things you can do to avoid getting hacked, but this is one thing that might make you feel a little more comfortable. You used to see people put globes over their webcams and stuff like that back when those cameras were like potato cams. But anyhow, that's what you need to know about this. So as I mentioned, 16 gigs of RAM, the i5 12th gen, and a 0.5 terabyte SSD. One of the really cool features about this laptop, it's not unique to this machine, but it's part of the Lenovo trend, is it has this smart, rapid charging 4.0 technology that Lenovo's been developing over the years. So you can get 2 hours of general use if you plug it in for 15 minutes. So that's pretty good. Now I drained this overnight and I had it in battery saver, my bad. So I ran this overnight, drained it, and then plugged it in for about 5 minutes and got 10% battery life. And as we've been using it here, we haven't lost a single percentage, which doesn't mean we haven't lost battery, but we haven't lost percentage, which is pretty cool. Okay, so those are my thoughts on this thing. It's a nice device if this is what you're looking for. I think 16-inch is a little too big for a 2-in-1, but everyone has their own sort of like appeal. And if you want something in a 2-in-1 form factor, and you don't mind the weight and the size because you really like sketching on a big display, even though this one's glossy, then there's a product out there for you. Now it's available at Office Depot for $950 with these specs, but it's often on sale from what I've seen. In fact, in early October, it was on sale for $750. I say was because it is early October, but I probably won't have this video out in early October. But don't be alarmed because Lenovo always has sales. They try to get their retail partners to have sales as well, I believe, because I see these sales often at Best Buy, for example, and Office Depot. Don't be shocked if this is $700. for the holidays. I certainly wouldn't be shocked. So you shouldn't be shocked either about that. That is the Flex 5i 16, another solid device from Lenovo, very well built and a nice tight hinge, as I demonstrated earlier. Really nice magnesium build. It's a good device for the 2-in-1 space at 16-inch. There aren't many out there, and I don't think this is a bad choice, but it should have come with the pen. That's my only real gripe with this machine. So I hope you found this helpful. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.